Development. Created as an extension to the world of the theory of reasoned action, the technology acceptance model corresponds to one of the most renowned, analyzed, and studied models in the literature. This model seeks to understand how and why users accept and use a technology, using perceived ease of use and perceived usefulness as prediction variables of the intention to use. TAM2 was created after TAM and explains the intentions to use a specific technology in terms of social influence and cognitive processes. To this end, the model incorporates constructs such as subjective norm, image, job relevance, output quality, result demonstrability, experience, and voluntariness. 3 years later, the unified theory of acceptance and use of technology come to the fore. This theory seeks to predict the intention to use through the variable performance expectancy, effort expectancy, and social influence, which are defined in a way very similar to perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, and subjective norm, respectively. This set of variables adds up to facilitating conditions, which have a direct effect on usage behavior, and is defined as the extent to which the individual believes that certain organizational and technical infrastructures exist to support the use of a system. 2 new variables incorporated into the model correspond to gender and age, which are moderating variables, as well as experience and voluntariness. The UTAUT2 emerged more recently, as an extension of the UTAUT and to study the acceptance and use of technologies in a consumption context. This model incorporates 3 new variables, namely, hedonic motivation, price value, and habit. As for social networks, several authors attempt to explain the use of online social networks, OSNs. According to Schneider et al., users commonly spend more than half an hour interacting with OSNs, and the byte contributions per OSN session are relatively small. From this result, we could assume that most users are consumers and not content creators. In the case of FaceCourse, Ellison et al. Propose that this network might provide greater benefits for users experiencing low self-esteem and low life satisfaction. As for Twitter, Java et al. Suggests that people use microblogging to talk about their daily activities and to seek or share information. With respect to Instagram, motives were positively associated with both usage and self-presentation. People use social networks such as FaceCourse, Twitter, and Instagram for the sole purpose of entertainment and maintaining contacts with their friends list. As may be seen, the motivations to use social networks are varied. According to Brandsegg and Heim, people use social networks to get in contact with new people, to keep in touch with their friends, and general socializing, and this could be closely related to the variable social influence proposed as a latent exogenous variable in the UTAUT2. Xu et al. Also suggested that user utilitarian gratifications of immediate access and coordination, hedonic gratifications of affection and leisure, which could be related to perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use, respectively, and website social presence were 3 positive predictors of social network site usage. Regarding WhatsApp, there are specific motivators linked to cost, sense of community, and immediacy, as well as to unlocking new opportunities for intimate communication. Addictive behaviors have even been detected toward the application. A number of studies about the use of this innovative technology have been conducted, which have detected a series of factors that positively or negatively influence the use of WhatsApp, such as the importance of family groups, the use of status within the application, interactions with the education field, and concerns about privacy, among others. This study intends to analyze WhatsApp consumer behavior from the perspective of the variables that influence the intention to use this technology and to determine what these variables are and how they articulate to affect the intention to use WhatsApp, using the variables proposed in the UTAUT2 model. The proposed model considers the following latent exogenous variables that explain the intention to use WhatsApp. The model proposes that the following 4 variables positively influence the latent endogenous variable behavior. H1, hedonic motivation is defined as the pleasure individuals feel when they behave in a certain way or perform a specific activity. H2, performance expectancy is the extent to which using a technology will provide benefits to consumers in performing certain activities. H3, effort expectancy is the degree of ease associated with the consumer's use of technology. H4, social influence is the extent to which consumers perceive that importantly others believe that they should use a particular technology. This social influence or subjective norm is closely related to the intention to use a social network. Behavioral intention is defined as the set of motivational factors that indicate how willing people are to try or how much effort people intend to put forth to develop a particular behavior. The structural model with the latent variables and their proposed relationships is shown in Proposed Model. In relation to the latent variables included in the structural model, Table 1 shows the observable variables measured in the questionnaire. It must be noted that these variables were measured through a Likert scale that ranged from 1 to 5, where 1 means totally disagree and 5 totally agree. Observed variables. The first 4 variables refer to performance expectancy, while the 4 next questions refer to effort expectancy. Then, the following 3 variables refer to hedonic motivation and the next 3 to social influence. Finally, the last 3 questions refer to the behavioral intention of using WhatsApp. The questionnaire also contains variables to measure demographic information such as sex, age, and level of education completed, as well as questions to measure behavioral variables such as the number of hours per day spent using WhatsApp and the number of times per day that respondents use this application. To conduct this study, a questionnaire was applied that contained the observable variables described above, as well as the questions for demographic characterization. The instrument was applied to 579 people through SurveyMonkey. Sampling was non-probabilistic and by convenience and targeted young people who use the internet and social networks. The survey was sent through these 2 channels. Once answers were collected, a univariate analysis was conducted to obtain the respondent's profile. Afterward, the reliability and internal consistency of each proposed construct were assessed by a Chromebox alpha test. Finally, the structural analysis proposed in was carried out using the software IBM SPSS AMOS, taking care to obtain adequate absolute, incremental, and parsimony adjustments. Once the structural equation model analysis was completed, a cluster segmentation analysis was executed to determine the different profiles of WhatsApp users based on the answers of the attitude variables proposed in the model. First, with respect to the descriptive analysis of the questionnaire answers and as mentioned above, 579 questionnaires were filled out. 57% of respondents are women, 60% of the sample are university students, and 25% completed higher education. In terms of age, the sample is concentrated in an age range from 20 to 40 years, with a mean age of 25.6 years. Regarding the total of respondents, as shown in, 62.3% express using WhatsApp for leisure, followed by 23.4% that use it for informative purposes. Main reason why WhatsApp is used. When comparing the motives to use WhatsApp by sex, the trend remains constant, with 62.4% of men using WhatsApp for leisure, against 57.5% of women. No significant differences are observed by age and educational level. Regarding frequency of use, most people report using WhatsApp several times per day, 89%, 90.4% for women and 87.1% for men. In this same line, with respect to the observable variables of intention to use, 58.4% of men and 63.6% of women declare totally agreeing that they will continue to use WhatsApp in the future. I intend to continue using WhatsApp in the future. 36.4% of men and 40.0% of women totally agree that they use WhatsApp in their daily life. I will always try to use WhatsApp in my daily life, and 48.0% of men and 53.5% of women declare total agreement with using WhatsApp frequently. I plan to continue to use WhatsApp frequently. In sum, for the 3 observable variables of the factor intention to use, the percentage of women who totally agree is slightly higher than that of men, and therefore, we can assume that women are more likely to keep using WhatsApp in the future. As seen in the first section, women tend to use mobile devices to access online content more than men, and this trend evidently replicates itself in the use of a mobile app like WhatsApp. Continuing with the analysis, a Chromebox alpha reliability test is conducted. Results for each of the 4 factors proposed in the model from as latent exogenous variables and the latent endogenous variable behavioral intention are shown in Table 2. Chromebox alpha reliability analysis. All 5 structural variables yielded satisfactory results in terms of construct reliability, with results over 0.